Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very happy to meet you after a long time, almost like 1 month. Welcome to the study of Unit 3 of Bhagavad-gita. We're going to start today. We have few new students who joined from this unit. We welcome them also into the class. And congratulations to those who have been on the course so far. It's almost been 7 months now. 7 to 8 months. So nice that you are keeping up with the course. Let's begin by chanting the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajiva Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are starting Unit 3 of Bhagavad-gita, also the Unit 3 of Gita Sastri, which is chapter 13 to chapter 18 today. Let's do the Mangalacharan for Bhagavad-gita. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pularavindaayatapatra netre Yena tvaya bharata taila purnaha Prajvalito jnanamaya pradipaha Prapanna parijataya Totra vetraika parnaye Jnanamudraya krishnaya Gita duhe namaha. A quick look back, discussing what you have, or revising what we have discussed before. You can try to answer this by putting the answer in the chat box. The first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita primarily talk about, what do they talk about?
Matter and spirit.
Matter and spirit. Okay. Something else, more exact. Very good. So the
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
Very good. The first 6 chapters talk about Karma Yoga. Yes, correct. Right? That's the main subject discussed. The middle 6 chapters primarily talk about what?
Bhakti.
Bhakti Yoga.
Yes.
Bhakti Yoga.
Very good. Talks about Bhakti Yoga. Yes, that's the division given to us by Srila Vishvanatha Chakravarti Thakura. Bhakti is explained almost throughout the Gita, but yes, it's more condensed in the middle 6 chapters. Okay. Then, does Gita promote Bhakti, lead to karma, or karma lead to Bhakti?
Karma leading to Bhakti.
What does Bhagavad Gita promote?
Karma lead to Bhakti.
Karma lead to Bhakti. Yes. Gita promotes karma lead to Bhakti, not Bhakti lead to karma. That's not promoted in Bhagavad Gita. Karma lead to Bhakti. That is promoted in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's continue our study now. The link between these two chapters is that in the middle 6 chapters, Krishna described Bhakti Yoga along with the precise natures of the Jiva, the Lord, and matter, and how are they related. The first 6 chapters showed how karma leads to bhakti. Now the last 6 chapters, they will show how Gyan leads to bhakti. So these 6 chapters are technically called Jnana Yoga. And that's why the nature of the knowledge given here is quite technical, very philosophical. You have to do a lot of analysis to understand the subject matter. So this chapter has 35 verses, and the first 7 verses, they talk about 2 subjects, which is field and its knower. The field and its knower. Okay. So we'll first chant these shlokas from the Bhagavad-gita, and then we'll look at the explanation. Arjuna uvacha prakritim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetragyameva cha etad veditum ichchami jnanam gyeyam cha keshava. Shri Bhagavana uvacha kshetram it abhidhiyate etadyo veti tang prahu kshetragya iti tadvidaha. Sorry. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate etadyo veti tang prahu kshetragya iti tadvidaha. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragayor jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. Tat kshetram yatcha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shृणु. Rishibhir bahuda gitam chandobhir vividai prithak brahma sutra padaishaiva hetumadbhir vinishchitaihi. Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhiravyaktam evacha indriyani dashaikam cha pancachendriya gocharaha ichchadvesha sukham dukkham sanghataschetana dhritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. So these are the 7 verses which form the first section of this chapter. Arjuna uvacha prakritim purusham chaiva kshetra kshetragyam evacha etad veditum ichchami jnanam gyeyam cha keshava. Arjuna is asking 6 questions in the first verse of this chapter. Prakritim purusham kshetram kshetragyam jnanam gyeyam etad veditum ichchami. I want to know all these 6 things. These are very philosophical terms, and when Arjuna is asking about them, it means Arjuna has known them somehow or other from the past, maybe in his studies in the Gurukul or his studies later on, or whatever Krishna spoke in the Bhagavad-gita. So he's asking very clear definitions from Krishna for these 6 terms. What are these? These are the 6 questions, and the meaning of them are also given. So when Arjuna is saying what is Prakriti, he's asking what is nature. When he's saying what is Purusha, he's asking who is the enjoyer. When he's asking Kshetra, Kshetra means what is the field. Technically, that's the translation of word Kshetra. Kshetra also means land. Then Kshetragya, Gya means to know. So Kshetragya means to know the field. Who is the knower of the field? Jnana, Jnana means knowledge. Gyeya means the object of knowledge. What is to be known? That's Gyeya, the object of knowledge, right? The thing to be known. And Krishna is answering them in the verses given in the rightmost column. Okay. This is how he'll put the answer to these questions. The answers are very simple, very, very simple, just one-line answers to these questions. But then it is explained elaborately in these verses. Fine. So let's look at the translation. Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field." So the answer to first question has come. Not first, actually the third question has come. What is Kshetra? The field. Krishna says, the body is the field. Which body? Your body. This body is the field. And one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. Kshetragya, one who knows the body, is the knower of the field. This is his explanation here. Let's look at the purport. Srila Prabhupada explains the reason Arjuna is asking these questions and how this chapter is important for us to understand. So we'll look at the second paragraph of this purport. Yes, Kavya Mataji, please read it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Should I start from the first 6 chapters?
In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita.
Yeah. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad-gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness, they are suffering. When enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities as the distressed, those in want of money, the inquisitive, and those in search of knowledge. That is also described. Now, starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by this. Prabhuji, can you scroll it? And how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and the discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. This also is explained. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, brief summary is given here of what these chapters are going to talk about. Let's go to the next verse, verse number 13. Krishna already gave answer to the first 2 questions. We can say the third and fourth question. Then verse 13 says, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra gayor jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. O Scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. So the answer to the question Kshetragya are 2. First, one who knows the body is Kshetragya, and also one who knows all the bodies is Kshetragya. And what is knowledge then? Jnana. 5th question. To understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So this is how it's answered here, right? Let's look at the purport. Just let me see what's important to read. Okay. Pankaj Prabhu. Please read the slide.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Super soul knows it all. The Lord says, I am the knower of the field of activities in every individual body. The individual may be knower of his own body, but he is not in the knowledge of other bodies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present as the Super Soul in all bodies, knows everything about all bodies. He knows all the different bodies of all previous species of life. A citizen may know everything about his patch of land, but the king knows not only his place, but all the properties possessed by the individual citizens. 13.3 purport. Hare Krishna.
Correct. So the king is the original controller of all the activities of the states. The citizens are secondary controllers. An analogy is being given here. Very nice analogy. Now you have to fill in those question marks, the blanks. See, the land is compared to the body. That's why it's called field, kshetra. Kshetra means area, field. So what does happiness and distress represent? If body is the land, what is happiness and distress? In this analogy, crops. Very good. Yes. Right? Isn't it? Just as the land field produces crops, the body produces the experience of happiness and distress. Right? Isn't it? Now the crops are gone because the farmer sows the seeds. So in the case of our body, what do we do which gives happiness and distress? The body is the field.
Senses.
Our action, our whatever we do.
Actions. Activity. What else?
That is karma, right? Or
karma.
Or material expectations.
Material expectations. Bhakti Mataji.
The senses, Prabhuji.
Okay. Neha Mataji.
Senses, Prabhuji. I was also going to say
the fine. So the seeds are the desires. Seeds are the desires. Desires. Ichha. That is the beach. Desires. Because desires will lead to actions. Desires will lead to karma. Desires will lead to all that, right? Then there's the fourth one. Fourth one is the soul. So if the body is the field or the land, and happiness and distress are the crops, desires are the seeds, then who is the soul in that analogy?
Farmer.
Farmer, very good. Farmer, right? And finally, who is the king?
Super soul.
Super soul. Understood the analogy, right? So now from this analogy, the field is the body. Kshetra. What is Kshetra? The answer is the body. Body of the individual soul. Kshetragya means one who knows the field. Now, if my body is the field, who knows about the body? I know, because I am living in the body. The individual soul knows. And who else knows? Super soul knows. Because he's living in all the bodies. So the analogy is very nice, right? Just like the king knows about all the plots of lands, and the farmer knows about his own plot. Similarly, the super soul knows about all the bodies, and an individual soul knows only about his or her body. Right? Now, the two knowers are same or different?
Different.
Different. Very, very much different. Right? So let's read this slide. Someone else volunteer. Bhakti Mataji, read please.
Two knowers are different. In this chapter, it will also be explained that out of the two knowers, one is fallible and the other is infallible. One is superior and the other is subordinate. One who misunderstands a rope to be a serpent is not in knowledge. There are different kinds of bodies and there are different owners of the bodies. Because each individual soul has its individual capacity for lording it over material nature, there are different bodies. But the Supreme also is present in them as the controller. 13.3 purport.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. So here there is a very important lesson to learn. On what basis does the king allot the piece of land to the farmer? There are many ways the king decides how much land to be given, which land to be given. It depends on, how big the family the farmer has. If the farmer has a small family, we'll give a small piece of land. This is sufficient for you. Okay, if you have a very big family, then we'll give a big piece of land. Will also depend on how nicely the farmer is going to use that land. Is he going to waste that land? Is he going to sit idle and do nothing? That will also decide whether the king will give a good piece of land or not, right? So there are many ways on which the king is going to decide. Has the farmer done some crime before? Is the farmer in some kind of debt to the kingdom? So many ways the king will decide. Similarly, the super soul, before giving us a body, decides on certain factors what kind of body to be given to us. When we say the body, it means what kind of body, it means what kind of mind, it means what kind of intelligence. All three is decided by the super soul. Basically, our psychophysical nature, whatever we have, is decided by the super soul. And whatever kind of body we are in, each body is a tailor-make for a set of desires, material desires. Each body. A particular set of material desires will lead to making of a certain kind of body. Man's body, woman's body, giraffe's body, zebra's body, cat's body, mouse body, cockroach body, fly body, snail's body, fish, even in humans, different kinds of human beings, demigod body, demon's body, right? So the conditioned soul is entrapped in this material existence, and according to his capacity to dominate material nature and enjoy sense gratification, he is given a body made of material senses, which is his field of activity. Those people who are born in India or Bharatvarsha, their body is meant to do tapasya. That's how the body has been designed. They are supposed to do tapasya. The body comes with that ability, because they have done punya, so they got birth in Bharatvarsha. Now do austerity and attain spiritual perfection. Some people, their body is not designed at all to do tapasya. Even if they want to, they cannot. The body will break down very easily. Right? So it all comes on the basis of one's past karma. Similarly, different people have different kinds of minds. Different people have different kinds of intellect. It's all the field given to us based on our karma. Now, it's a very deep analogy. Why? Because when the farmer is given a certain field, the farmer is so much restricted to act within the boundary of that field. Isn't it? The farmer cannot complain. My soil is not so fertile. That farmer's soil is so fertile. Whatever seed he grows, he sows, it gives a flourishing crop yield. When I have to work so hard and still my land gives me no good crops. So like that, some people are born with good luck, lots of good luck, good fate, and some people are born with lots of bad luck. Their field is like that, what to do? It's based on their karma now, whatever they have done in the past. So the answer is very simple here to the questions. Kshetra means field, individual body. Kshetragya means knower of the field, individual soul and super soul. Jnana, knowledge, means knowing the body, knowing the soul, and knowing the super soul. When it says knowing the body, means to know, yes, the body is not me. And knowing the soul means to know, yes, I am the soul, I am not the body. And knowing the super soul means there is someone beyond this body and beyond myself, the supreme controller, that is super soul. So one who knows these three things, that person is in knowledge. Jnana, that person has jnana. So if Srila Prabhupada, when he's giving a public lecture and he tells the audience, most of you are ignorant souls, he's wrong? No, he's not wrong. Because most of the people don't know about these things, right? They may know so many other things, but they don't know these things. And as per Bhagavad-gita, this is knowledge. So those who think the body is the self are not knowers of the field. If the farmer thinks I am the land, it's not going to work. The farmer should know I am not the land. The land is different from me. Similarly, when the self knows I am not the body, then that person knows the body. Okay. Now Krishna gives further, more deeper explanation of this first subject called the field. Not so much detail, we'll get more details in Srimad Bhagavatam, but here only a brief synopsis is given. 6 further explanations. Tatshetram yatcha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tatsamasena meshinu. I have colored the Sanskrit terms, which are the questions or explanations. 6 terms are there. Yatcha, yadrik, yadvikari, yatas, yat, yat prabhavash. 6 things. What are these 6 things? For your help, this table explains them. First is, what is the body made up of? Or what is the field made up of? Composition of the body. Yatcha. Answer is in 13.6. Yadrika. What are the qualities of the body? Answer in 13.7. Yadvikari. What changes does the body go through? Yataha. Origin of the body. Yat. Identity of the knower of the body. And finally, Yat Prabhava. Powers of the knower of the body. One who knows the body. What are the powers of that person? So these subjects are then explained. Now, you might have so far understood, in many other chapters also we did so much detailed analysis of the subject. But in this chapter, it is much more compared to the other chapters. Why? Because this is Jnana Yoga. Jnana means so much of analysis, very philosophical, very technical, right? But this Jnana leads to Bhakti. That's why we are interested in it. Krishna only briefly explains them here. He does not go in depth to explain these things. Only just explains to some extent. And then when Arjuna expresses a desire, I wish to know more about these subjects. So then Krishna, he tells Arjuna the next verse, which is verse number 5. He says, Rishibhir bahuda gitam chando bir vividai prithak Brahma Sutra Padeshcheva Hetu Madhir Vinishchatai. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. You want to know more in detail, Arjuna? Go and study those books. Which books? Mostly Vedanta, Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutras with all reasoning as to cause and it's explained in detail there. So if you want for future reference, go and find it there, right? So Krishna is here telling Arjuna, directing Arjuna to Vedanta Sutra. And he's saying many sages have talked about it. Many sages have explained this knowledge. Let's read the purport here. Divya Vishwambhara Prabhu.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadeva's father, Parasara, is also a great sage. And he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tam Cha Tatanye, we, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental, although in material bodies. Now we are all fallen into the ways of the 3 modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in lower nature. The higher and lower nature exists due to ignorance. and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul, the super soul, and the body is made, especially in the Katha Upanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this, and Parasara is considered principal among them. Thank you.
Yes. So here begins a very technical explanation again of the subject matter. But before that, it's a good lesson for us to learn. Krishna here mentioned that the many other sages have explained the subject matter in detail, and you can find it in Vedanta Sutra. So a lesson from there to learn, as Srila Prabhupada pointed out, is that those who truly know never claim the knowledge as their property. They will never say that this is my knowledge or I have made it up, because the knowledge is something which is received or borrowed from those who know. And that's how we learn. Krishna is himself God, but still when he's talking, he's giving references of the sages. The sages say so, the learned men say so, He's not claiming that this is my knowledge. He is giving them the credit. So here in the purport, then Srila Prabhupada mentions about 5 types of consciousness. It's a very interesting subject matter. And if we deeply understand the subject matter, it can help so much in many practical aspects of our life. 5 types of consciousness. What are they? Annamaya, Pranamaya, Dhyanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandmaya. The third one, Jnanamaya, is also sometimes known as Manomaya. Okay. So these 5 levels of consciousness progressively develop in a human being. Progressively develop in a human. First, it starts with Annamaya consciousness. First and second and third, they are bodily consciousness. Anyone in these 3 platforms is on the bodily platform of life. Material consciousness, which means that person's consciousness is entrapped in illusion. And that person fully identifies himself or herself either with the body or the mind. That is the first 3 levels of consciousness. Now, when a person begins to understand I'm spirit, soul, I'm Atma, the knowledge of soul is obtained, then the person goes to the 4th level known as Vijnanamaya consciousness. This is where spiritual life actually begins. This is where spiritual consciousness begins. And a person is situated on the platform of Buddhi or transcendental intelligence. And finally, when a person becomes a devotee, a pure devotee of Krishna, then he's on the 5th level of consciousness known as Anandamaya. Anandamaya. Okay. Anandamaya. Complete spiritual realization. How that Ananda is experienced? Because of connection to the source of Ananda, connection to the super soul, the Supreme Lord. One experiences complete bliss, identifying oneself as the servant of the Supreme Lord, also known as Bhakti Ananda, right? These 5 levels of consciousness are like 5 coverings on the soul. That's why they're also known as koshas or sheaths. Just like when you have a sword, you put the sword in a cover, in a sheath. So these are 5 types of consciousness are 5 levels of consciousness are coverings over the soul. Are you able to see the screen clearly? Yes. If not, you can zoom on. So you can see here the 5 coverings are drawn as 5 circles, concentric circles. And these 5 coverings represent 5 different elements: the body, the energy known as prana, the mind, the intellect, and bliss. And then there are 3 kinds of bodies: the causal body, the subtle body, the gross body. Okay. This is a very deep subject, and this subject is very helpful for those who are parents or will be becoming parents, or those who are teachers. Because when we understand this subject, we know how to help the child to grow to the best of his capacity. Okay, this subject helps to understand how to. Kosha means sheath, kosha means covering. So these 5, they act as coverings over the soul. Fine. Now, depending on where, in which covering you are investing your consciousness, that covering will decide your mentality. So if your consciousness is invested in Annamaya Kosh, then you will act as if everything around you is food. That's how you'll see the world, right? And who sees the world like that? A small baby. For a small baby, everything is food. Everything, right? Napkin is the food. Mama's blouse is the food, right? Pillow is the food. Toy is the food. If you put a dog, then he will also start, chubbing the dog. So everything is food. That's called Annamaya Kosh. I remember once I was in a temple, North India. So during darshan, one lady brought one child, and she gave 100 rupee note to the child's hand, and she pointed to the donation box. Please put it in the donation box. And the child took the note and put it in his mouth. So the mother said, no, not there. It should not go there. It should go into the box. Again, the child took and put it in his mouth. Then the mother had to take the note and put it into the box. So the mother did not know that this is Annamaya Kosh now, cannot understand the difference. Everything is food. So that consciousness. Now, there are many human beings, when they grow up, they still remain on this consciousness. That's why they have very less discrimination. They'll eat everything. Whatever comes on the plate, they will eat it. Right? Now, for us, we will not eat certain things. But for them, everything is food. You can eat anything. Why? Because they are still on Annamaya platform. Annamaya Kosh is there, very strong. Okay. So these are coverings. Now here we have to understand a bit complicated subject, so please pay attention. Subjective realization and objective reality. How many of you heard this people say, the world is the way you see it, right? It depends on your perspective, on your outlook. But is it really so that it just depends on your attitude? No, the world is the way it is, and then you have your way to see it, isn't it? The reality is the way it is, and you have your maybe perverted way of looking at the reality, isn't it? But we cannot say the reality is the way you say it. No, if something is black, it is black. Now, if I see it is green, that is my subjective vision. But in reality, that thing is black. Correct? Isn't it? So there is objective reality and there is subjective realization. Like I'll give an example to explain. You see this small sketch illustration on the screen. Let's say it's a country. So in that country, there is a human being living, and also there is a dog living. Okay. Now, who is the citizen of the country? What is the definition of citizen?
Whoever live in that country is a citizen of the country.
Yes, whoever is born actually, right? Whoever is born in that country is considered to be the citizen, and living as per the rules and regulations of the country is considered the national of that country. Correct? Prajaha, right? So the dog is the citizen, yes. The man is the citizen, yes. But does the dog know I am the citizen? No. Does the man know? Yes. So objective reality, subjective realization. The reality is the man is the citizen. The reality is the dog is the citizen. But the man can realize it, the dog cannot realize it. The man will say, I am an American. The dog will never bark, I am an American. Right? Isn't it? Yeah? So that will not happen. Similarly, these 5 levels of consciousness are objective realities, and it depends on the individual, how that individual comes to realizing that reality. I'm spirit soul, it's an objective truth. But that doesn't mean that everyone who is spirit soul realizes that he or she is spirit soul. Right? Now, for that understanding, one has to put efforts. One has to come to that realization. So truth is objective, but realization is subjective. Truth is objective, realization is subjective. Now, when we say everyone in the world is a devotee of Krishna, that is objective reality. There cannot be anything else. But then it is not subjective realization. Only few people realize that, yes, I am a devotee of Krishna. Okay. Let's look at the koshas, the different consciousness. So Annamaya. Someone please read the left column, which is in red background. David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, your grace, please accept my humble obeisances. Anayamaya, as stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Pancham Pratishta, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord energy known as Anamaya, depending upon food for existence.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
So when someone is on this stage, one experiences a unifying oneness of everything to be as food. So such a person does not make any distinction or difference between what is alive and what is dead. And that entity also does not possess an awareness of its own existence separate from the existence of everyone else. That's why you see, sometimes you might have observed, very small babies, they are not afraid of anything. They'll go and touch fire. They play with knife, right? They don't have any sense of fear. You put them around a snake, they'll go and play with the snake also. They don't have any fear. Why? Because they don't know that my life is different from this entity's life, and that person or entity is dangerous to my life. When will that understanding come? When the next kosha will develop, pranamaya. Before that, that understanding will not come. So you must have seen, I mean, if you have not, go to some of these videos which they put about small babies. They're very, comfortably going and hugging the dogs on the street, the cats and the birds. They'll pick up the birds, very comfortable. They don't fear at all because they're still thinking we all are same. Same on the platform of food. Okay. Now next level. Pranamaya. Pankaj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranamaya, as stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, Brahma Pancham Pratishtha, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Pranamaya, whereby one can realize the absolute truth in the living symptoms or life forms.
Prana, there is life. So then one begins to value life. One gets a sense of fear. I need to protect myself. My life is valuable. It can be in danger. So there comes value for life, for one's life, for others' life. That's called pranamaya. So during this stage, the child is very active. The child will not sit at one place. The child will just jump and run and will do so many things. So you find that in children age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, very difficult to make them sit. The whole day they want to run and play and fight and do jump and do all those things, right? So prana maya kosh is developing for them, is becoming stronger and stronger. Okay, so they become aware of life symptoms and they identify with that. And the principle is, I want to work for my own survival. So this is where the most of the human beings of modern materialistic society lie. They are on this platform. A struggle for existence. Struggle for survival. Somehow they live. Somehow they live, right? That's all they are able to do, isn't it? Now, have a good job, whatever. But how much time do they spare then to think about finer topics. Most of the people, they don't get time for that. Somehow they are just surviving, isn't it? I have to survive. So most of them are on this platform, Pranamaya Kosh, Pranamaya, this primitive level of realization. So they're still actually animals, because animals are also on Pranamaya Kosh, Annamaya and Pranamaya. So still like that, only working to live, that's all. Fine. So for those for whom this Pranamaya Kosh is not sufficiently developed, when they get old, they'll have serious problems with the mind and the body. They'll have mental issues and also physical issues. But for those whose Pranamaya Kosh is very nicely developed, even when they get old, they can just sleep for 3 hours, 4 hours a day, and they'll be still very active. Right? So the way to develop someone's Pranamaya Kosh is allow that child to be very active. Run, fight, play, give the child challenges, climb the mountain, go to the river, do physical work. Then the prana gets developed very nicely. The child becomes very strong internally, So then such people can sleep less and still be very alert in consciousness, can eat less and still be very, very active, because prana is very nicely developed. Okay. Then the next one is Manomaya Kosh, also known as Jnanamaya Kosh. Now, during this age, the person is very inquisitive in nature. What is this? Why is this? So many questions will start coming. To tell anything. Why not like that? What is this? So that's called Manomaya, Jigyasa, thinking, feeling, willing, very adamant nature will start coming out. I will be very particular about one's opinion, about one's likes and dislikes, right? So at this level, one becomes very much aware of one's own thinking, feeling, and willing, one's identity, a distinct identity. And then the whole world is seen through the lens of that, because I like this, everyone in the world should be liking this. Because I feel like this, everyone in the world should feel like this. Because I think like this, everyone in the world should think like this. Right? So this stage is acquired by those human beings who follow the Vedic culture. They can come to this level. They have a very refined way of thinking, feeling, and willing. And during this stage, okay, let's read the column first. Rasheshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, Brahma Pucham Pratishta, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Jnanamaya, whereby realization of the absolute truth extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing.
Yes, to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. So in this age is generally the age between 10 to 15. And during this age, for the child to develop its mental faculties, the child should be inspired to read or study different kinds of subjects, so that the mind will become very nourished. Poetry, literature, music, all that stuff, At this age, the interest will not be so much in philosophy, because that is a function of Vijnanamaya Kosha, So we cannot expect a child of this age group to be so much into scriptures and philosophy and all that. They are more into fun and exploring the thing, exploring the world. That's what is developing in them. Now, for those whose Manomaya Kosh is not properly developed, they'll have relationship problems in life. Why? Because their mind is not mature enough now to to value emotions, to understand emotions, to relate to emotions, right? They're still very much mechanical in nature. So when one is mechanical in nature, one doesn't value others' emotions. And that's why there is relationship problem. The way to develop this Manomaya Kosh is let the child spend time with many different people, have lots of different kinds of experiences, learn to be with people of different natures, then the person becomes quite mature and can accommodate lots of varieties of people in one's life. That's Manomaya Kosh. After this, one can expect then the person, if takes to spiritual life, goes to the next one, which is Vijnanamaya Kosh. Now the inquiry between the difference between soul and body will come. Before that, very difficult. Only some rare cases. Anita Mati.
Hare Krishna. Vijnanamaya, as stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, 𝗵𝗶 Pratishtha, there is a Brahman realization called Vijnanamaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. Thank you, Prabhuji.
And finally, we have Anandamaya. Paramita.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, 𝗵𝗶 Pratishtha, the next and supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the all blissful nature. If the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with the Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is the subject. This is the subject explained here. Any questions from this topic before we go to the next?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. When we leave the body here, so all these coverings of the soul is also left now, and only the soul goes back to the spiritual kingdom.
Okay, so the question is, when we leave the body, these things are left behind. You see, it's not that these things are some physical coverings that you are carrying. These are, you can understand these are conditionings on the soul because of contact with material nature. So when you become pure as soul, just that these things are gone. They are not there with you anymore. So it's not that, when you are dying, you just leave these things behind. Before you die, if you have become a pure soul, already these things are gone. Then your consciousness is not Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Jnanamaya. Then you are fixed on the pure, real consciousness, which is Anandamaya. Right? So it's not we don't have to see it as physical coverings around us. Because we are on the physical platform, for us to understand the concept, it is shown like that, but it's not that physical, right? It's not that physical. It's more on the psychological platform. You can say this is the lens through which the soul sees. The koshas are the lens through which the soul sees, right? So these koshas, they all go away as the soul becomes more evolved in realization. And when the soul is pure, then these koshas are not there. Anyway, and that pure soul then goes back to Godhead.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anjumataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. So these Annamaya, Pranamaya, all these are in sequence, or the development of any of the koshas is hindered by the development of the other kosh? Is it like that?
Yes, to some extent.
Okay.
Like,
so,
for example, if one is not developed sufficiently in prana and in manamaya, will be very difficult to also be properly developed in Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Srila Prabhupada explains that in Srimad Bhagavatam and other places that people who have had not sufficient material experience will also not be able to value spiritual experiences. Right? So it needs a person to be perfect in all spheres of existence to come to perfect realization of the absolute truth. That's why it is needed. It is needed. The koshas should be properly developed. If one doesn't have manomaya kosh developed, then there is problem with the faculty of mind. So then how will that mind help in practicing spiritual life? Because mind is a tool. If one's annamaya body is not sufficiently developed, then how will that body help to do the sadhana properly? Because the body is a tool. We all have this experience. When the body is sickly, our consciousness gets affected. Right? It affects our focus, it affects our meditation, everything gets affected. So the problem with the modern lifestyle is that it destroys these koshas very much. It doesn't help them grow to the fullest capacity. And therefore, the modern human beings, they are so much lacking on the physical platform, on the emotional platform, the mental platform, on the intellectual platform. And because of those lackings, so difficult for them to pursue spiritual life and get the result out of spiritual life. Even when they know the process for spiritual perfection, because of these lackings, that result is not achieved. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Janaki Mataji.
Prabhuji, this is from the purport. There is this line which says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature full of joy, and to enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into these various koshas, that is the Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Annamaya. Can you explain that? I'm a little confused.
Okay, now see, everything in this world is coming from Krishna and Brahman. Source is who? Krishna. So all these koshas, though they are not physical elements, but they are some kind of energy elements, you can say. So these koshas are also coming from whom? From Krishna as Brahman, because everything is Brahman, right? So when the line says Krishna expands into these koshas as Brahman, into these koshas, basically it means these koshas are manifestations of the same energy called Brahman, because everything is Brahman.
No, that I understood. This particular sentence here, I mean, the second half of this, it says to enjoy his transcendental bliss. That part, I mean.
Yes, because the Brahman, as Brahman, he is enjoying through every single aspect of that existence. As Brahman, he is enjoying through every single aspect of existence. Like, for example, if someone eats a banana. So this banana is enjoyed by that person who ate that banana. And through that person, because Krishna is ultimately the source of that person, Krishna also enjoys eating that banana. Right? Because that person's whole existence is based on Krishna. Right? So Krishna is the enjoyer. Now, this doesn't mean that Krishna is enjoying at the cost of someone suffering. No. His nature is to enjoy, so he'll enjoy in any situation. Right? His nature is like that. We can never put Krishna into suffering because his nature is to enjoy. All right? So through every single thing, whatever manifests through him, he is enjoying. He's enjoying. That's from his perspective. Tina Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I had one question. Like in Manumaya, you have said that we have to give so many opportunities to a person. We have to give a wide range of opportunities to decide to a person. But like for example, if somebody wants a particular kind of friendship with some person, like in college or in schools, and we know that the person with whom that person wants to be entangled is not a person or not a good person, not worthy of friendship, then how can we avoid getting them involved with such persons? Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Well, if someone is not willing, how can you get that person involved? You can only try, play some tricks, but then you cannot force anyone. That's a general principle, no? It applies to all relationships in all situations, material life, spiritual life, anyway. We can only try, we can only trick, or we can trick that person. But if that person is adamant, doesn't want to, then how much can you go against that person's desires? You cannot. Right? So we cannot change, because that person is also born with certain karma and has certain set of desires. If that person doesn't want to go along with the knowledge that you are trying to provide, the help you are trying to give, you can't do much. Yes?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Haribol. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I want to ask you that the different these koshas are there, like Annamaya, Pranmaya. How do you develop each of these pranas, ya koshas? Like if someone is lacking in certain aspect, or a kosha, or any of these koshas or mayas, so how is there any art of developing, or it's just through bhakti all these koshas can develop, Prabhuji? Thank you, Prabhuji.
There's an age to develop. Like for example, Annamaya kosha. Now, if someone has at the age 70, he or she cannot think of now developing it the way it was to be developed at the age of a child. Similarly, same thing about prana. Likewise, manomaya or jnanamaya. There's a time for everything, So when the right time is there, you can develop it to the fullest capacity. When that time is gone, it is gone now. If you want to develop it again properly, take birth again. That's the only next chance. Or you don't take birth again, because you want to not do that anymore. You want to focus more on your spiritual development, right? So devotees, they would better, focus on their spiritual development. And even if their other koshas are not developed sufficiently, they'll leave it on Krishna for him to decide. Leave it on Krishna for him to decide. Like that mentality should be there. I am incomplete, but Krishna, you are very kind. You can accept an incomplete offering also. Right? So that with that attitude, we take shelter of Krishna, or we approach Krishna. But then the knowledge is helpful for us to help those who are in the developing stage, that they can be helped by giving them a better support here. Right?
Yes,
there's a question in the chat box. Vidyabhushana Prabhu, same question.
Krishna, I have extension of that. You are telling now, Prabhu, Krishna has to bless us or to develop that, or we have to ask Krishna to that we have been we don't have that koshas we developed. Is it like that? Any considering like that we are in a handicap or something like that? We don't have that. We should not consider that to be. It will not be an obstacle for the growing in our Krishna conscious or to spiritually growth. Is it so?
It will, even if it will be initially, Krishna will provide for it. Krishna said in 9th chapter, verse 22, Ananaya shintayantu mam ye jana pariyupasite tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga shema vaham yaham. Whatever you lack, I will provide. Right. So he will provide whatever we lack. But then for that, one has to do Ananya Bhakti. That's a condition. Right. So then he'll provide. Okay. How to develop the Manomaya to be improved? Now, if you're asking about a child, then yes, as I mentioned, let the child read different subjects, be inquisitive, ask questions, meet people, develop relationships. In that way the Manomaya is developed. Spend time in nature, with animals. So Manomaya is developed in those support systems. Okay, Neha Mataji.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, I have two questions, Prabhuji. One is, in the animal, what all koshas are developed? Only Annamaya. And when the soul leaves the body, second question, when the soul leaves the body, does the Anandamaya kosha also leave? I mean, how does it happen?
Okay, so for animals, which kosha is developed? Only up to prana, not beyond. Okay. Yeah. Now, when we say developed, again, you should know the 5 koshas are always there with the soul. It's just that the soul is more functioning on that particular kosha, which is prana. It's like I can tell you, you have 5 glasses of 5 different colors. You have all 5 of them. It's just that you use a particular color. So animal means cannot use the glass with the other 3 colors. Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. Can only use the glass of Annamaya and Pranamaya. Okay. But when it's a human body, then there is a facility to use the other glasses also. But those options are always there with the soul. Because finally, consciousness is a quality of the soul. It's with the soul. Isn't it? It's with the soul. Right? But that facility is not there. That capacity is not there. So when you say the soul leaves the body, do the koshas leave again? The consciousness goes with the soul, so all these things will also travel with the soul. Right? So again, I would say when we are understanding this subject, let's not bring it on a very gross physical platform. Just like Krishna gave the example, you drop the clothes and you wear new clothes. Not that much gross, that the soul left something and then adopted something, right? We should know these are more on conceptual platform. These are concepts. These are concepts. Okay, and if you don't understand it now, don't worry. Wait for time for your consciousness to get a little more evolved. Then you'll understand. Wait for the time to come. All right. Okay. So don't tax your brain. Chant more Hare Krishna. That will help. Okay, we'll give you a break for a few minutes, and then we'll come back for the class. Okay, welcome back. So we have discussed about the 5 levels of consciousness. Let's go to the next verse, which talks about the 24 elements. These 24 elements, they constitute the body. They make up the body, the field. That's how the body is made. So Krishna mentions about that in verse 6 and 7. Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhir avyaktam evacha indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gocharaha ichha dveshah sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. The 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind. The 5 sense objects: desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. The interactions begin from the word desire. Before that, whatever is there, that is field of activity, kshetra. After desire, whatever is there, it is the interaction on the field. Okay. So the 24 elements are mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. This table shows them. What are those 24 elements? Very simple stuff you must be knowing. Pancha Mahabhut, the 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether, right? Earth, water, air, fire, ether. Then Gyanendriya, knowledge acquiring senses: nose, tongue, eyes, skin, ears. Karmendriya, voice, legs, hands, anus, genitals. Indriya Vishaya, smell, taste, form, touch, sound. Sukshma Tattva, or subtle elements: mind, intelligence, false ego, and Pradhana. Pradhan. So what is Pradhan? Pradhan is 3 modes of material nature in passive state. So here then we have another diagram which I have taken from the explanations given by Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana. How these 24 elements are formed. It starts with first Pradhan, also known as Avyakta, unmanifest. What is it? It is the three modes of material nature. Then from that comes the next element, which is known as Mahat Tattva, also known as Buddhi, or intelligence. It's an aggregate intelligence of the whole creation, not the intelligence of one living entity. Mahat Tattva is also known as Mahat Buddhi. Then from that comes Ahankara, the link, misidentification. When this Ahankara mixes with mode of goodness or Sattva Guna, mind is produced. When this Ahankara mixes with modes of passion, then the 10 senses, knowledge acquiring and working senses are produced. And when this Ahankara mixes with mode of ignorance, then the 5 gross elements and the 5 subtle elements are produced. Gross elements are ether, air, fire, water, earth. Their qualities are sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Now, how does this happen? First comes the sound. Then from sound comes ether, from ether touch, from touch air, from air form, from form fire, from fire taste, from taste water, from water smell, from smell earth. Very difficult to understand, right? So we cannot comprehend it, we cannot imagine it, how it happens, how it is formed, but this is how it is formed. So sound is where? It's in the ether, isn't it? It's in the ether. The space creates sound. In modern science also accepts it. Space is related to sound. Einstein spoke about it. Then touch, sensation comes from air. Fire gives the form, or the fire element gives the form. So do we have a form? Yes. So that means we have fire inside us, fire element inside us. Because of that, there is that form. Do we have fire inside us? Yes, we have. It's called Pitta. That's fire. The nature of fire is there in Pitta. Then there is taste. So that taste comes from water element, Rasa. And then we have smell, and that comes from earth element. From the earth element comes the smell. So this is how the 24 elements are generated. And then mixing these 24 elements makes the body. Mixing of them makes the body. So many varieties of body can be formed. I don't know if you studied permutation and combination in mathematics. So if you did study, then if you give you these 24 elements and then tell you, then make all the different kinds of varieties. It can be so many, right? So many varieties. All right. Then the next is the qualities of the field. Desire. So now I have a question. Is desire a quality of mind, or is desire a quality of the soul?
Mind.
Mind.
Soul.
Mind.
Soul.
Soul.
Soul, Prabhuji, soul, desire.
Mind.
Prabhuji, it is soul.
Soul.
Mind.
Mind.
Soul.
Mind.
Okay. Why not both?
If it is a soul, it will be also mind too. If it is a soul, then it will be mind also.
If it will be soul, it will be mind also. How? You have to unmute, Prabhu.
Because soul is intelligence and false ego and this intelligence, mind, false ego is around the soul, no problem.
Okay, so the soul is surrounded by intelligence, mind, and false ego.
Yeah.
Fine. Yes, correct. So actually, this desire is a quality of the soul. Ichha, right? If the desire is a quality of mind, then we need to blame the mind and punish the mind. Then the mind should suffer and enjoy. Why should the soul suffer and enjoy? So it's the quality of the soul. But then the soul manifests that quality through the mind. You know, example of software and hardware. Right? The software is there, but then you need a device to manifest that software. The functionalities of that software, that's the hardware. So the mind acts like an instrument to manifest those desires. Isn't it? Correct? So to give you another example, what sees, the eyes or the glasses? Answer is both. The eyes see through the glasses, right?
Through the glasses.
Similarly, the mind is used by the soul. The soul will desire, but that desire will manifest through the mind. Now the soul can desire, but the quality of that desire will depend on the quality of the mind. So let's say the basic desire is, I want to eat. Now what you want to eat, that will be decided by the mind. So, you know, when scriptures say, we are into this material world because we wanted to enjoy, that is the base desire. It's the base. How you want to enjoy, that is based on the mind. Soul does not like pizza and pasta or paneer and rasgulla, right? It's not the soul. The soul wants to just enjoy. But now the mind will say, okay, you will be more happy if you eat pasta. You'll be more happy if you eat scorpion. You'll be more happy if you eat air. You'll be more happy if you eat water. You'll be more happy if you don't eat anything. You'll be more happy if you eat prasadam. That mind will say, depending on the mind's quality. Okay, so all the qualities are basically qualities of soul. Like humility is a quality of soul, the intelligence is quality of the soul, determination is a quality of the soul. But then based on the kind of mind we have, this quality will manifest. And that mind will be governed by either of the three modes. So when we study the chapter 17 and 18th of Bhagavad-gita, then Krishna explains there about some of these qualities based on three modes: determination in goodness, determination in passion, determination in ignorance. Likewise, there can also be humility in goodness, humility in passion, humility in ignorance. There can also be cleanliness in goodness, cleanliness in passion, cleanliness in ignorance. Everything can be put into these three blocks or categories or baskets. Everything. Okay, understanding? Yes, or too much technical?
Yes, Prabhu.
Too much technical.
No, understand.
No, it is understanding. It is easy to understand.
Easy to understand. All right, good.
For
So
sure.
now you have,
Hare-
yeah, someone saying something.
Prabhuji, but the intelligence, I'm confused with intelligence also. Mind means, you say only mind means without intelligence?
Sorry, come again.
Prabhuji, you are saying mind. Mind means the intelligence is not included?
Mind is different from intelligence, no?
But without intelligence, how we can eat anything and choose anything?
Okay, now the function of the intelligence is not to desire. Intelligence also has its function. But the function to desire is through the mind. The intelligence is for decision making, not for desiring. You know, like the intelligence will make this decision when the mind says, I like to eat this, that's the desire. Intelligence will say, no, this is not good for your health. Right? So intelligence does not have the faculty to desire. The intelligence has the faculty to discriminate. It has its function. So when we say the quality of discrimination, is it the quality of soul or intelligence? Then you'll say it's the quality of the soul manifesting through the intelligence. Got it?
So only the function is only that for discrimination and analysis?
Yeah. Intelligence only does that.
So because some people, they say we don't have intelligence, but they do good things also.
So intelligence, when
Vice
some
versa,
say you
vice
don't have
versa.
intelligence, it means that you don't have a particular type of intelligence. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Particular type of intelligence. Now, intelligence is there in every entity. Even a bacteria has intelligence. It's coming, no? As 24 elements, it is coming. It's a part of the field. So when you say, someone says you don't have intelligence, it's his relative evaluation or perspective that you don't have this kind of intelligence. Correct?
A little bit confused, Prabhuji.
Don't worry. Next slide. Think about it more later. You'll understand. So next slide.
I have a question. Prabhuji, I have a question. In the previous chapters, we read that, the soul is aloof of everything, right? And it is so because it is as divine as the Supreme Lord. Now, if we say that the soul desires, I thought the mind is the one which desires, and once the mind desires and it goes out to get it, the soul wears that spirit of that mind. So I'm a little, I'm just wondering, maybe if it's not something to be for an answer now, it's okay. But
I already answered it.
No, but then
the desire is the quality of the soul. Now, when the soul is pure, then that desire will not manifest as a material desire. Then the desire will be, let me serve Krishna, let me cook for Krishna, let me dance for Krishna, let me dress Krishna.
But I thought the soul remains independent. I thought the soul remains independent.
You mean to say then the soul has no desire? In spiritual world, the soul will not be having any desires. Then that is Mayavad philosophy, impersonal understanding. No?
No, but Guruji, in that case, how do you explain this 2.23, Nainan Chindanti Shastrani? How do you explain that? If it is soul, then if you are saying that Avyaktam, Chintoyam, all this, that means if it is kind of this thing, then it should not have any desire. No, she is right.
No, she is not right. And you are also not right if you say she is right. Right?
Okay.
So the soul has desire. It's a quality of the soul. Now, let me ask you one thing. Any quality that exists in the body, in the mind, in the intelligence, where will it come from?
I was thinking it comes from our past karma.
But what is that past karma?
Past mental concoctions.
What is that past? How it started, that past?
The past is the past experiences and the past kind of things.
But how did it start?
It started with body.
It started with body. But from where did the body come? The body came before the soul?
No, first soul came.
The soul exists, right? On the soul, there is body. Correct?
Yes.
So desire is the quality of the soul. Now try to understand that quality can be experienced as a material quality or a spiritual quality. When the soul is in the spiritual world, then that quality manifests as a spiritual quality. You desire there also, but what do you desire? You desire how to give pleasure and satisfaction to Krishna, how to serve, right? And when the soul is conditioned by material nature, then that desire becomes perverted. It becomes transformed into a material desire. And what connects the soul to that material existence is the ahankar, the wrong identification, the wrong identity. The ahankar makes the knot, the connection. So when we say
but
the
then
mind,
the question is when you.
What's the question? What's the question?
Yeah, avyaktoyam or chintoyam avik. If you are saying soul is avyakta, then how does it have desire?
When the soul says, it is said that the soul is avyakta, what is the meaning of the word avyakta?
Avyakta means cannot be expressed. Avyaktoyam or chintoyam.
No, you are taking it
cannot
in the another way, cannot be expressed. Avyakta means it is not manifested. That's called avyakta. Vyakta here doesn't mean the soul cannot express.
Okay.
Avyakta here means the soul is not manifested. So when it says it is not manifested, the explanation given by the acharyas is the soul does not manifest like a material element. A material element begins to exist and a material element ends to exist. But a soul does not manifest like that. It doesn't have a period of existence and a period of non-existence. It is avyaktaha, right? Not manifested like that. It doesn't have a material manifestation. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that the soul doesn't have any form or desires, right?
It is always.
Otherwise, if people start thinking like that, the kind of explanation that you are trying to give, you'll never take any responsibility for what you are doing wrong in life. You will say, I did not do. It's my mind. It's my foolish, stupid mind which made me do. And first thing is that. Second thing is that you will also not take control or charge of your mind. Because you will think, my mind is independent. I am just a slave of my mind.
Correct.
Now, let me ask another question. If you say desire is the capacity of mind, then who will desire, I want to control my mind?
Intelligence.
Intelligence? Now, intelligence will have desire. Intelligence is a non-living element.
Soul can't desire.
Who will decide, I want to control my mind? Where will that desire come? Now, don't tell me the mind will say, I want to control my mind.
Soul.
Ultimately from soul only.
Then
through intelligence, it will cover.
Correct. So the soul has the quality of desire. It manifests through the mind. Material desires manifest through a material mind. Spiritual desires will manifest through a spiritual mind.
Prabhuji, that is a question.
And what is the link? What makes the soul be connected to material elements? That's called ahankara, false ego. It's a false identification. False identification.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Prabhuji, now, in my understanding, the soul had a desire to lord over the material nature. So we are here. And so in this life, soul has to be conditioned to go back to Krishna. So in this process of devotional service, the desire of the soul will be going back to Krishna. So in that way, it will reach the kingdom of the Lord, right? So am I right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, you are right for the first part. What's the next one?
So in the material world, what will be like mind, intelligence, and false ego? These three are the subtle elements which are part of the inferior nature of the Lord.
Yeah.
So in the spiritual world, what will be? There will not be a gross body. So
no.
There will not be a subtle body also there in the spiritual world.
No.
So there will not be so mind, intelligence, false ego, this will not be there in the spiritual world.
Will be there.
They will be there.
Mind, intelligence, and ego will be there. But they will not be present as a separate entity. That will be one body with all of these things.
Okay. So it will not be a gross and a subtle body.
Yes. It will be one spiritual body which has a spiritual mind, which has a spiritual intelligence, which has a spiritual ego, which has spiritual hands, spiritual legs, spiritual eyes, spiritual form, everything.
Yes, correct. Got it.
But when one comes to the material world, this one becomes three. The spiritual, the subtle, the gross.
Okay, that is for the material world.
Material world. Okay. In the spiritual world, they all become united. So there's no fight. In the material world, they are separate. So there's a fight. In spiritual world, they are all together. So mind is there in the spiritual world, but it's a spiritual mind. Intelligence is there in the spiritual world. There is spiritual intelligence, right? If there was no mind and no intelligence in spiritual world, why would we say control the mind? We'll say drop the mind. Right?
Yes.
Isn't it? If there is no intelligence in spiritual world, why would say that use your intelligence properly? Say drop the intelligence. Don't use your intelligence. Don't be intelligent. It's there. It is to be used properly. So then you take it with you. You use it properly, right? Okay. David Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Your Grace, please accept my humble obeisances. I think my question has been answered. It's the same thing I wanted to ask, that the mind, the intelligence, is it material, subtle, or spiritual? But I think you have answered that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Next topic. Any other question?
Prabhuji,
Yes, Neha Mataji. Unmute, please. Sorry. Unmute again.
Prabhuji, can you please explain, can you please tell us what is spiritual mind and material mind? Of course, we know.
When the mind desires everything for Krishna's satisfaction, that's called spiritual mind.
We have that mind with us now?
That the mind element is there, but it has lost its nature, the true nature. So it has to be revived. Right? Isn't it? Like a bad boy can always become a good boy, no? Not that for becoming a good boy, the boy has to become a girl. Right? A bad boy will become a good boy. Right? So similarly, a bad mind will become a good mind. You have to go through the transformation. You can't say, now kill the boy or make the boy into a girl. So that's why we don't say kill the mind, kill the intelligence. No, change it. Transform it. That's the process.
Okay, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Okay. David Prabhu.
So, Your Grace, please, in the intelligence and the mind, how does it manifest in the subtle form, in the subtle realm?
How does it manifest?
Yes, because that you explained that there's three categories: the material form, the subtle, and the spiritual.
Yeah, so the mind in the material world is a subtle element. Subtle, no? It's subtle. You cannot catch it, you cannot see it, you cannot feel it in physical manner. So it is a subtle element. But it is a separate element from the self. It's a subtle element, separate element. Similarly, intelligence is a subtle element and separate element. Right? So that's why it's subtle. It's called subtle in that sense. Gross means which is manifest to your physical senses. Yes, you can see it, you can touch it, you can catch it, you can feel it, taste it.
Okay.
Got the point?
Yes, I get it. Thank you.
I hope you got it. Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I heard, maybe the statement is wrong or right, please explain. That when the soul get moksha, that gross body has to go away and the subtle body also has to go away.
Yeah, it has to go away, which means you'll drop that material conception which is there in the mind. It doesn't.
But still you have the subtle body with you?
When the material mind is gone, why will there be a subtle body? That body is an external thing, right?
Yeah.
When the material conception is gone, the material mind is gone. Means the subtle body is gone. But then spiritual mind is still there.
But you gave example of a bad boy to good boy. So I was thinking the same settled body converts to spiritual, or this body goes and new body comes.
When the bad boy becomes a good boy, did the boy drop certain things?
No, this change of transform of
No, it dropped. No, it dropped wrong thoughts, wrong desires. It dropped, no? Bad actions, bad behavior. It dropped or not?
Yeah.
Dropped, right? So settled body means something like that.
That means only transformation, Prabhuji, then good to bad.
It's you see, transformation means also dropping, right? The problem with you all is that you're bringing everything so much on physical level.
Because
so much on physical level.
Once we die,
now, for example, if I tell you drop a thought, can you actually physically drop a thought?
No.
But is it wrong to say drop a thought? So why you are bringing everything so much on the gross platform, right? That it's all just on the external sensual platform. It's not like that. If you understand spiritual principles on that platform only, it will only confuse so much, because it's not really on that platform, right? It's very subtle, sukshma tattva. So try to understand it on that platform. When we say
I understanding like this, Prabhuji, because when the man dies, the body is burned or buried or whatever we do. So he's losing his material body.
Again, you're talking about physical thing. Losing which body? A physical body, right?
Yes, yeah.
Isn't it?
But you just said that the physical body, settled body, and the spiritual body becomes one.
I said that in the spiritual world, they are all together. Together means, now in the material world, when you have a hand, that hand is a material hand. Made up of material, earth, water, air, fire, ether. Right? But in the spiritual world, when a personality has a hand, that hand is not made up of a separate material element called earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That hand is made up of Satchit Ananda.
Yes.
If in the spiritual world there is mind, that mind is also made up of Satchit Ananda. In the spiritual world there is intelligence, that intelligence is also made up of Satchit Ananda. And the soul, you yourself, is also made up of Satchit Ananda. So it's one, or is it different? It's one element.
That is one element, Prabhuji. But
one element, so it's together, right?
Yeah.
The gross, the subtle, and the spiritual, it's together. It's one, right? So it's together. In the material world, it's not one, it is separate.
But when you are in the material body, you have to leave the material body, no?
Any doubt in that?
That's why I say that body is left in the earth, and then when you go to Goloka, you have to leave the material body down.
Of course. I don't think there will be an exception. Of course, everyone leaves, right? The material body is left behind.
So the settled body also left. So I'm saying that only two bodies will have to leave, and the soul goes to Goloka, which is having a spiritual body.
Yeah, and that spiritual body has a form, just like your gross body has a form.
Correct. Yeah. Then the spiritual body is developed. Yeah.
Our spiritual body has a mind, just like we have a mind.
Okay.
Right? But it is not separate. It is all together. Okay. Yes.
Prabhu.
Thank you, David Prabhu.
No, sorry, I've mistakenly clicked that. Sorry.
Okay. Srinivas Gubakwa again.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I didn't lower this thing.
Okay, okay, then I think we will then. Do we have time? I have some more slides to cover for today. Yes, we can do one more slide, then we'll go to the next topic, which is tomorrow. So the field that we have the body and the mind and the intelligence, it brings certain limitations. Like you can think the field to be a plot. Now in the plot, there is a house, there is a garden, a backyard. And in that house lives a boy. The boy is playing with the cycle, badminton, football. Mama has gone out of the house and told the boy, don't step out of the house, just play in the backyard. So that boy is now limited to play within the backyard. That's his field of work. That backyard has limited the boy's activities. How much can that boy do inside that backyard? Whatever the backyard will facilitate, only that much can be done, isn't it? Correct? He cannot do scuba diving and he cannot do roller coaster ride there. Cannot do. The backyard will not give all those facilities. You know? He can only do few things which can be done in the backyard. Now within the backyard, then you'll see there is a dog. Is the dog's field of activity the same as the boy's field of activity? If you look at the land, yes. The dog can also walk around, jump around the same land. But if you look only at the land, then yes. But if you look at other elements, then no. Why? Because though the land is available to the dog does not have the faculty like the boy has. The boy can climb the tree. Right? The boy can ride the bicycle, the dog cannot. Right? The boy can use his mind to do so many crafty activities, the dog cannot. So the dog's field is not the same as the boy's field. It is more limited than the boy's field. Much more limited. Though the dog is within the same piece of land, the field is much more limited on the basis of mind and intellect. Now let's take the example of the snail. Same area, backyard, but the field is much, much, much more limited. Cannot talk, cannot jump, cannot run, can only crawl. That's all. Isn't it? So the limitation is coming on the physical platform, the limitation is coming on the mental platform, the limitation is coming on the intellectual platform. I didn't want to say this, but then because we are discussing this topic for such a long time, see, when we are not able to understand certain points in the scriptures, take it very easy. Why? Because our intellect is limited. We have a limited field of intellect, right? And how can we develop it? We can only develop it by very good sadhana. When our consciousness will grow, that capacity will also grow to understand. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to understand. Because we have come with that particular limitation, right? So we have to focus more on a spiritual life, and then that spiritual pursuits will develop this consciousness, and then that consciousness will enable us to understand Sukshma Tattva mentioned in the Shastra. Right? That's how it will happen. That's the real way. Then that's why you see there are so many very intelligent and genius scientists, but they cannot understand Gita. Why? Because their intellect is not developed in this manner. They cannot understand it, find it very difficult to understand. Then next we have a man outside the house. Now this man's field is much more bigger than the field of the boy, because he can walk on the road, he can sit on the bench, he can do so many things which the boy cannot do, right? And there is a bird flying in the sky. It has a different field. So this knowledge of field and its limitation is very helpful, very, very helpful. So it helps us become humble. It helps us become ourselves. We come to know our limitations, our weaknesses, our strengths. And then it helps us to, as the section says, to become more devoted to Krishna, because the nature of humility is that as soon as you become humble, you'll begin to accept the supreme position of Krishna and surrender to Krishna. That's the purpose of humility. Pride makes us not surrender to God, because we think, I am also great. Why should I surrender? Right? Now, this field that we have received is based on our karma. The dog is like that dog because of its karma. The snail is like that snail because of its karma. The boy is like that because of its karma. The karma puts the limitation. When we understand this, what should be the next question if you are really intelligent? How can I now break out of this problem called karma? Why? Because it limits me so much. Right? It limits me so much. How can I come out of that problem? What is the solution? So the answer is, Krishna will say, develop knowledge, jnana. The jnana will help to come out of this limitation. Spiritual knowledge. That jnana is explained in the verses 8 to 12. How to develop that knowledge? Verses 8 to 12 talk about it. So here will be a lesson. Human life is a blessing because it is a much refined field compared to the other fields. However, the life of a devotee is the greatest blessing. It gives you so much of facilities and opportunities which otherwise one cannot get. All right, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments finally? Yes, Prabhu, Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Prabhuji, here in the 24 elements, the ahankar, the mind is you addressed as in a goodness stage. In some places, I heard mind is also in passion stage. In
Mind is not mentioned to be in goodness state. What is mentioned is ahankar, when mixes with sattva guna, it produces mind.
Ahankar, come again, Prabhuji?
Ahankar, when mixes with sattva guna, it produces mind.
Ahankar, okay, mind, okay.
It's not mentioned that mind is in goodness. What is mentioned is ahankar plus goodness will produce the element called mind.
Okay, ahankar with the goodness. Okay, ahankar. Okay, understood, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Understood, right?
Understood.
Yes. All right. Okay, Rohit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just like how we have unique, everyone has unique material body. So similarly, we all have our spiritual body, mind, and intelligence with us, which we need to like how gradually we do our sadhana, so that we uncover it and gradually we like become that, like all spiritual body, mind, and intelligence.
Yeah. Yes.
So everyone has a so everyone right now actually has a spiritual body, mind, and intelligence, right?
In the seed form, yes.
In the seed form. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
one's constitutional position, one's original nature.
Right. So there would be like how we have a specific material body, face structure, so that the specific spiritual body and face structure and like whatever we will be like that will also will be there na, for like how for Sukhdev Goswami it was a parrot. So for like different individual entities it would be a different constitution position. So it's specific. We just need to like uncover it and reveal it for ourselves.
Yes. But we cannot uncover it just like that. To uncover it like that, one must accept the process of Krishna consciousness the way it is explained, which is what in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu will study. Go to a bona fide guru, surrender yourself, serve that guru, follow the instructions of that guru. Then you will be able to uncover it. On your own, you will not be able to uncover it.
But everyone like similarly has a specific and unique body only, spiritual body only, like how Sukdev Goswami had a this thing of parrot.
Yes, it's unique, it is specific, it is as per your taste and nature.
Okay,
So
it's not like
you are really
just
yourself. You are really yourself.
So like how in the material world we actually like this life I have a specific human body, but if in this life I desire for something else, I can I like to swim so much, so I may get this thing body of an aquatic animal. But for the spiritual, it's only one, right? It doesn't changes like how in the material world it changes.
It doesn't change the way you change it in material world, but then why would you want to change? Here you want to change because you are not happy with what you have. But in spiritual world, in that particular form, you are the most happy version of yourself.
Right.
So why would you want to change? Right? Here we are trying to change because we are not happy with it. So I want to try something new, try something.
Yes.
Right? But in that position, you are completely yourself. You are most perfect. You are most satisfied in that position. So why would you want to change?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
you don't want to, because it's the best of you.
Yeah.
So don't think that facility of change is not there, It's not needed. It's not needed.
Okay. Thank you, Babaji.
Okay. All right. So we'll stop. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada. Okay, before we go, yes, your exams. So now this time the paper was tough. Some of you said it was easy. So that was foolishness to say so. And also you said it was medium. So your answer showed that it was not easy, and means your marks showed that it was not easy and it was not medium. It was tough. Why it was tough? Because in the first paper you got kindergarten's standard paper, you scored 48, 49, 46, 45. Maybe you thought, now we are such excellent students of Bhakti Shastri. So we wanted to give you a test of yourself, right? So now in the second test, not score so well. Had plenty of time to study. Everything came from the question bank, just that I made it more descriptive in nature, and therefore you slipped. So next time when you study, do study properly. When it's a 3-mark question, I expect 3 points, not 1 line, right? When it's 5 marks, I expect 5 points. So when you are solving your question bank, don't be a miser. Fill in the pages with sufficient lines of answer. Now, in the question, if it's for 1 mark, write for 1 mark. If this question is for 5 marks, write for 5 marks. Okay. So prepare like that. If you write short, you'll not get full mark for the question. And sometimes the question may be tricky, so you shouldn't properly understand the question. Some of you did not understand. A question says, there are 4 kinds of people who approach Krishna. One of them is most dear. Who is that? Jnani. Who are the other 3? Very simple. Who are the other 3 means, and you mention Artha, Jigyasu, Arthati. Why mention ekatvena prithaktvena bahuda vishvatomukham? That is not the answer. The question is very clear. So please try to understand the questions properly, write sufficiently, more close to what is given in the purport. Don't write from your mind, whatever you have heard in some class or read in some other place. From that book, from that unit, that's what we are expecting, right? So still some of you pass because we give grace marks, but then that grace will not be there for the unit 3. In unit 3, again, you'll expect maybe paper will be easy, paper will be tough, I don't know, but then there'll be more strict checking. So be prepared for it, please. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada.